twilight was her favorite time. Fewer people, warm water, the sounds of the jungle. She often said that sunset was the most magical thing in life. But it was at this hour that her life ended. She was 26, a tourist from Maine. First time in Zambia. She rented a lodge by the water. On the third night, she decided to go for a swim after a long hike. Her name was Sarah, and she knew nothing about Nile crocodiles. The screams were heard by other tourists. Then a splash. Then silence. 2 days later, the body was found in the river, without one leg. Local hunters immediately said, "It wasn't an accident. It was a mistake." Let's find out why predator behavior changes at dusk, what mistakes Sarah made, why some habits that are safe in the US kill in Africa, and how ignorance of the laws of nature becomes a death sentence. She had always loved dusk, the hour when the sun melted into the earth, when everything softened and stilled. In Zambia, it felt even more surreal, like the land held its breath. Sarah stood on the wooden deck of her lodge, sipping lukewarm water from a bottle, her bare feet dusted with red soil. Her skin glowed faintly in the fading light. The day had been hot, heavy. She had hiked under a sun that never blinked. Her body ached. Her clothes clung to her back. The river called to her. There had been a paper, a printed sheet at the front desk, bold text at the top, safety guidelines. She had glanced at it. The usual rules, she assumed: don't wander at night, don't leave food out, don't provoke the animals. But it was her third day, and nothing had gone wrong. Staff smiled. Tourists laughed. It all felt tamed, curated. Even the river seemed calm, silent, and wide like a glass road. Sarah slipped out of her shoes and walked past the railing, stepping carefully between low bushes and the edge of the deck. The path was barely visible, but she had seen others use it, locals cutting across to smoke or rinse their hands. At the bottom was a gentle slope, sandy, and sloped like a quiet beach. She took it slow, her feet sinking slightly into the damp, cool earth. The water met her ankles with a soft chill. A breeze moved across the river, just enough to stir the leaves. She stepped deeper. Her legs adjusted quickly. The silence grew thicker. No bird calls. No insects. Only her breath and the faint rustle of water against her knees. She walked until the river hugged her waist. The current was slow. The horizon glowed orange. Beneath her, the color of the water shifted. What was once clear and shallow now appeared dark and clouded. She felt the bottom change, from soft silt to something harder, packed. She didn't notice the stillness of the trees behind her. She didn't realize how far she'd moved from the bank. Her body floated for a second, weightless. She kicked gently. The sound rippled. In the shadows of the far reeds, a form moved. Low, submerged, unblinking. A crocodile, almost 5 meters long, ancient and deliberate. It had been still for an hour. It had watched her step into the water, felt the tremors of her motion, read the pattern of her splashes. It did not rush. It did not charge. It simply turned. Sarah paused, as if sensing a shift in the air. Her arms stilled. She turned slightly, squinting at the surface behind her. Nothing. Just shimmer. A flicker of movement near the edge, but small, dismissible. She breathed. Then moved again, this time toward the shore. 2 steps. Then a ripple. Then silence. The water exploded. A violent thrust of muscle and scale, a flash of teeth and mass. There was no time to scream. A heavy weight struck her from below, pulling her under with impossible speed. The river sealed. Froth and bubbles churned in a narrow circle. Then nothing. The surface smoothed. The bank stood still. No one on the deck saw the attack. A couple had turned away. A waiter was lighting candles. One woman thought she heard a splash, But it didn't sound alarming. Just water. Just Africa at dusk. The lodge realized Sarah was missing an hour later. Her room was unlocked. Her shoes still at the top of the slope. Her towel folded on the railing. Staff spread out with flashlights, shouting her name into the night. There were no answers. The river swallowed sound. By morning, a ranger boat scanned the banks. They found nothing but a torn sleeve and a half-buried sandal near the muddy edge. One of the guides muttered a word in his language, something like, "taken." He didn't explain it. He didn't have to. On the third day, her body floated into a shaded inlet downstream. One arm missing. One leg partially detached. Her skin pale and blistered, her face peaceful, like sleep after pain. A tourist screamed when they saw her. A ranger covered her with a blanket. The official report listed accidental drowning. A section mentioned possible animal involvement. The lodge sent condolences. The local papers ran a 2-paragraph story. No photos. No names. Experts later explained the patterns. Crocodiles hunt most actively at dusk and dawn. Cooler water temperatures bring them to the surface. They prefer shallow, quiet zones near human paths. They wait, motionless, minutes, hours, until the target gets close. Then a single strike, then submersion, then death. The rules had been written, posted, printed, but no one had walked Sarah through them. No staff told her directly not to swim. The lodge assumed tourists understood the danger. The tourists assumed the rules were just legal shields. In between was the silence that killed her. Her parents never visited Africa. They buried her in Maine, beneath a sycamore tree. The obituary read, "She died doing what she loved, exploring." But that wasn't true. She died not knowing. She died in trust. She died in silence. The river still flows. The path remains. So do the crocodiles. A month after Sarah's death, another woman checked into the same lodge. She was older, cautious, carried thick guidebooks, and asked too many questions. The receptionist smiled politely, handed her the same printed sheet, safety guidelines, and highlighted nothing. The guest nodded and placed it in her bag unread. No one said the word crocodile. The deck where Sarah once stood had been scrubbed. The towel rail replaced. A potted plant now sat where her shoes had been found. Time in tourism moves quickly. Memory does not. The lodge's internal records made no mention of her name. A private insurance entry labeled it Incident A32, Water Proximity Violation. One manager suggested a verbal briefing policy. The idea was quietly dismissed. It might alarm new guests. And anyway, the signs were clear. Among staff, only the boat guide spoke about her. He remembered her face, her walk down the slope, the way the light had caught her back as she stepped into the water. He told no guests, only the other guides. They nodded and said nothing. Local rangers discussed the attack over tea in metal cups. One of them said the crocodile had been seen before. Same bend in the river. Same size. No one had tried to trap it. No one would. It was the river's law, not theirs. In a government office miles away, a risk report was written and filed. It included statistics, seasonal behaviors, attack patterns. It was never printed, never distributed. It sat in a folder marked internal use only on a dusty shelf. Back in the lodge, guests sipped wine by lantern light. They took photos of sunsets, laughed at insects, and pointed at silhouettes on the water. At night, the river glowed under the stars. In the dark below, the crocodile waited. It didn't need hunger to strike. Only motion. A vibration. A human limb entering its world. Its patience was limitless. Its instincts absolute. It would wait again. It always did. And somewhere, someone else would step into the water. In the weeks that followed, Sarah's story faded into whispers among staff and scattered posts in travel forums. Some called it an accident, others hinted at negligence. But few agreed on the details, because few had them. No video, no witnesses, just a splash in silence. Her parents received a copy of the final incident report. It was brief, 2 pages. It listed her time of check-in, the weather conditions, and her voluntary entry into restricted waters. No mention of warnings being spoken. No mention of dusk, or hunting patterns, or the line between safety and danger being so easily crossed. A marine biologist later wrote a short analysis on seasonal crocodile behavior in the Luanmore River. It included a footnote on an unconfirmed fatality of an adult female tourist. The paper was not peer-reviewed, and it never reached the public. The lodge continued its operations unchanged. Bookings resumed. The website still featured sunset swimming as a tranquil backdrop. A disclaimer was added at the bottom of the page, small, gray text. Guests assume all risk near natural water bodies. A ranger posted unofficial notes in an internal WhatsApp group. He wrote, "Third time since 2020. All women. All alone. All between 5:30 and 7 p.m. St. Curve in the river." A few replied with emojis. One just wrote, "You know they won't change anything." No legal action was taken. The lodge was in full compliance. The local authorities confirmed the water was publicly accessible. There was no law requiring warnings beyond what was already printed. The system had worked exactly as designed. Sarah's name became part of local memory, but not officially. Some guides now used her story, not by name, but as a cautionary tale. "Don't be the girl in the water at dusk," they'd say. Tourists laughed nervously. Most followed the rule. Some didn't. The crocodile remained in the river, unharmed, untouched, protected, like all wildlife in the region. It was not blamed. It had done what it was meant to do. It had waited, chosen, struck, and vanished. It would do it again. It was only a matter of time. In travel brochures, Zambia was described as wild, untouched, authentic. The images showed elephants at sunrise, hippos yawning in golden light, and smiling tourists wrapped in safari scarves. The river was always there, a glistening ribbon of serenity. No one showed its teeth. Behind the marketing, the truth was simple. People didn't want to imagine danger. They wanted wonder, escape, silence. Sarah had wanted the same. A moment to herself. The feeling of being part of something vast and ancient. That wish had killed her. What no one told her, and what few knew, is that crocodiles prefer dusk because it mimics ambush. Their vision excels in low light. Their bodies are tuned to heat differentials. Movement after sunset activates them. They are not predators of chance. They are opportunists of perfection. In Maine, Sarah had grown up around lakes. Her habits were shaped by safety. She had swum alone dozens of times. Her body held a library of muscle memory that said water was peace, not danger. She had no defense against what waited in the silence of foreign rivers. The lodge operated on assumptions. That printed warnings were enough. That adults made rational decisions. That rules, once stated, remove responsibility. No one was assigned to monitor the bank after dark. No protocol existed for lone swimmers. It was an oversight with a body count. Sarah's mistake wasn't foolishness. It was a trust misplaced. She trusted the appearance of safety. The polished wood of the walkway. The soft lights. The invisible line between tourist and prey. She thought danger would look like chaos. Instead, it looked like still water. Her parents tried to speak with someone from the lodge. Their emails went unanswered. Eventually, they stopped asking questions. But they kept one of Sarah's childhood photos framed by the kitchen window. Her standing in the ocean, hands out, smiling towards something just beyond the lens. In the lodge's storeroom, a box sat on a high shelf. Inside it was a folded towel, a sandal, and a handwritten check in form with Sarah's name and the date she arrived. No one ever opened it. No one threw it away. It stayed, like a forgotten warning. The river changed with the season, but not with time. It flooded, receded, shifted course by inches, but the curve where Sarah had entered remained nearly the same. From the deck, it still looked calm, like a painting. Beneath, the mud held its stories. A year later, another tourist asked to swim. A man this time. A guide said no, gently but firmly. The man laughed, pointing at the surface. "Looks safe enough." The guide didn't argue. He just stood there until the man walked away. The lodge installed a new sign near the bank. It was larger, red-lettered, mounted on a post that leaned slightly with age. The warning was still vague. Entering water prohibited after 5 p.m. due to wildlife activity. Below, someone had scratched in the wood. Asked what happened. Back in Maine, Sarah's younger brother got a tattoo of a wave on his forearm. Not a crocodile. Not a name. Just the shape of water folding into itself. He never spoke publicly about her death. But sometimes, when he stood at the lake's edge, he stayed quiet longer than he used to. A documentary team passed through the area months later. They were filming elephants. A fixer told them about a girl who had died in the river. One of the producers asked for more. The fixer shrugged. "She went in. She didn't come out. That's all." The crocodile was likely still there. These animals can live over 70 years. They remember locations, patterns, vibrations. It would wait in the same place, watching for the same mistakes. Not angry. Not cruel. Just patient. Some deaths echo through systems, spark reforms, change signage, shift protocols. Sarah's didn't. It slipped between the cracks, too quiet for headlines, too ordinary for outrage. It became a ghost in the margins. Somewhere, right now, another traveler is looking at a quiet river. The sky is orange, the day still warm, the path inviting. The water looks still. The trees are quiet. The warning signs are in place. But the decision, as always, will be theirs alone. And the river will not warn them twice.